And we are live for episode 127 of the Wise Guys podcast. I am your host, as always, Brandon Capozziello. But with me today, special guest, hasn't been here in a while, my boy, JQ. How you doing, JQ?
What's up, Brandon? How we
Come
doing?
on. We're doing
Thanks
good.
for
We're doing good.
thanks for having me on. I appreciate seeing you. I'm happy to be on for another episode. I do miss Justin not being here, and I do miss Johnny T. Those are some good friends of ours, but I'm always excited to talk football with you. I know we play fantasy together and we talk a lot, but it's always good to chop it up.
I know. I can't wait for our matchup in fantasy football. I don't know when that is, but today's episode, we are going to cover week 2 of the NFL. We're going to be reacting to it. We're going to be recapping it. You clicked on the video. You saw the thumbnail. Them boys, we're going to talk about them. The Cincinnati Bengals are 0-2. Is it time to panic? Trouble in Cincinnati. We're going to discuss that. And obviously, we're going to get into JQ's Giants complete the big comeback. Impressed? Or not so much. We're gonna dive into that. We're gonna get into some other things that happened yesterday, Sunday. But JQ, how are you doing this fine Monday evening, September 18th, 2023?
No complaints, man. Everything's good. It was a good day at work. You know, the only thing that's kind of stinks is that it's raining, it's pouring. I'm sure the weather's the same by you, but listen, I mean, I got no complaints, man. I'm happy my football team, the Giants, crawled out of Arizona with the win. But yeah, you know, I'm excited for just the whole NFL season in general. And, you know, this is the best time of year for me personally.
Yeah, football is literally the king of sports. I've said this multiple times. They are the king of sports. But before we get into the topics of today, everybody, if you're tuning into this video, please like. If you're new, subscribe, share the content with everybody on your social media platforms. It is much appreciated. We love it. It doesn't take that much. You just tap it.
Just click the damn button.
Come on. Click the damn button,
click the
man.
damn button.
Or like our boy Adam Sandler said in Happy Gilmore, just tap it in. Just tap it in. All right. But yes, we appreciate it. We love it. We love new people. Interactions are great. Comment along with us and tell us how you feel about the certain topics. So let's get into topic number 1 of today. Almost ran out of breath there, JQ. The Cincinnati Bengals are now 0-2. And if I'm not mistaken, I know they were 0-2 last year. I believe this is the 3rd straight year they are 0-2 starting off. Now, we obviously know what happened the last 2 years. 2 years ago, they were in the Super Bowl, and a year ago, they were in the AFC Championship game. This season seems a little different to me. I think simply because of Joe Burrow's calf injury. Me and JQ were talking about it a little bit before the show. And he mentioned a guy by the name of Aaron Rodgers, who also was dealing with a calf injury, not only this past offseason in August, but last season he was dealing with the calf injury. And if you talk to anybody, you talk to athletes, doctors, whatever, they have a calf injury that puts more stress on your Achilles. And we saw with Aaron, it's like a rubber band. That thing snaps, and that sucks. Now, what we know about Joe Burrow's injury is he suffered it in, I believe, late July, early August, somewhere around there, and he rushed himself back. I think we can all realize what's going on and believe and understand that Joe Burrow rushed himself back. He wanted to be back for the start of the season, and that was to the detriment of him and his Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm going to kick it to you, JQ. Is there trouble in Cincinnati? What do you feel? Cause for concern? Panic? Time to panic? Push the button?
I 100% think it's time for the Bengals to push the panic button. I was looking at something today. I actually saw a tweet. I forget who it's from, but the Bengals, Joe Burrow's career, have started off 1-7 in their first 2 games of every season he's been the quarterback. Granted, not a big deal. We get it. But this year's different. The calf injury always is a concern because it lingers. It affects other body parts. I mean, I'm no doctor, but, you know, your body, all the joints and ligaments are connected at some point in your body. Everyone knows this. The thing that bothers me the most is I haven't seen Joe Burrow go through all of OTAs, all of training camp without having some hiccup. You know, 1 year was the appendix, 1 year was COVID. I think the other year was coming back from the ACL, and then this year it's the calf. So now it's like, this is year 4, correct, for him, Joe Burrow? So this is year 4. He just got a monster contract, and now they got to worry about his calf. I'm not surprised they lost these 2 first games. Granted, I think the Browns are a very good team, so these 2 starting off your season with 2 divisional games is not an easy task, of course, but they're games you want to win. So starting off the year 0-2 against 2 divisional opponents sucks. Absolutely is a bummer, but if Joe Burrow can go next week against the Rams, I have life for them because they play the Rams, then they're at the Titans, and then they're at the Cardinals. So those 3 games, I think they could flip the switch real quick, Brandon, win those 3 games and act like nothing ever happened. So to lead into it, I am kind of panicking because of the injury status of Joe Burrow. That's your quarterback. That's your main guy. Without him, Brandon, what is this offense going to do? Like, are they going to be able to win any games, or where does the season go?
Well, it goes with their backup quarterback is a guy by the name of Jake Browning.
Who's that?
Kid from Washington, 1-year experience. I don't know about you, but the last name Browning is not a very flattering last name. Anything that's Browning, I don't think is good at all. They do have Will Greer. I don't know if he's going to be the backup, but they got 2 options there. Listen, their schedule is favorable for them, right? I just had it, and then it went away from me. All right, I got it now. The Rams, they got next week, obviously, like you said, but the Rams have looked good. The Rams have looked good, and I predicted that they were going to be back to at least playoff form. I don't know about Super Bowl contention form, but playoff form, being a playoff team. And they've looked very good. Then they got the Titans, who have always rocky. Cardinals, that should be a win. The thing that concerns me, right, with this injury is the fact that Joe Burrow came back too early. He rushed himself back. And
do you remember? Sorry to cut you off. Do you remember what Jamar Chase said to him before the season started?
Take your time.
Yeah,
take your time. We don't rush. Don't rush because we need you for the stretch. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And Joe Burrow wanted to be back for himself. He wanted to be back for his teammates. He wanted to be back for the fans, for everybody, right? And he's a gamer, and that's what a lot of people love about Joe Shiesty. But sometimes you got to protect the player from themselves and keep them out. Because now you are 0-2. Guess what? If Burrow doesn't play, you're probably going to be 0-2 anyway. But Burrow is now healthier. Burrow is closer to 100%, and he can come back and at least provide you. Now, if you bring him back against the Rams, imagine if he was come back against the Rams, a Monday Night Football game, right? So even extra rest, another extra day of rest. You've given him 2 weeks off extra, and he's going into a stretch of 3 to 4 games that are very winnable. Rams, Titans, Cardinals, Seahawks. Very winnable before they meet up with the 49ers and the Bills. Very winnable. Now it's like, if he's down, you could lose to the Rams. You could lose to the Titans. Cardinals, I think that they can get away with that. The Seahawks, you might lose to. And then you go against the 49ers. Imagine if Burrow comes back against the Niners and that defense. I don't want that. So this is what I'll say. I'm not panicking per se. They will be fine. And by what I mean by they will be fine is in the long run. Could this season end up being a wash for the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow? 100%. And that's okay because you're going to have a down season every once in a while. Even the greatest dynasty of all time, and I hate to bring it up, but it's not like I'm trying to, attack him, but New England Patriots, they had down years as well. All right, 2002, and then the year they missed the playoffs when Brady got injured.
That's a long downtime. It really is.
Oh,
I feel so bad for you.
2 years out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
Peaks and valleys, JQ. There's peaks and valleys. Like
I know. There's peaks and valleys for every team.
Yeah.
But no, I totally agree with you, Brandon. Like some of those points you made about the games he could come back for, either if he sat out the first 2 games of the year, or now if he potentially has to miss a game. I don't know if he's going to play Monday night. I saw some things going around with Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport and those guys saying he did tweak it again. So we'll see what his status is like for next week. But that sucks because it's like you rushed back, like you said. You probably shouldn't have. I know. And you know what the tough thing is? They probably wanted him back, and same goes for Joe because of these divisional games. Losing divisional games sucks. This is coming from a Giants fan because my team doesn't win a lot of divisional games every year for the past couple of years. So if you don't win those games, it's hard to make a playoff push or even, of course, win the division, obviously. So this is just a tough situation for the Bengals all around. And if I'm them, I better pray that he's okay. Oh, Justin, what's up, buddy? I think you're muted, Brandon.
Apologies, my friend. Justin's in the chat saying Ravens are going to have the division sealed by week 12.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's a scary Baltimore team. I think with the weapons they have, it's a lot of room for success on that team. Justin.
I don't believe that one bit. I'm going to be honest with you. And that's because the Cleveland Browns are the team to beat in the AFC North. All right, they are. It is what it is. Deshaun Watson is back to form. All right, Nick Chubb is arguably the best running back in the league, but he ain't arguably the most consistent running back in the league. The offensive line is top 5 in the whole NFL. The defense is probably going to break into the top 10, maybe bottom half the top 10, but Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett are on their game this time. And that defensive coordinator they got, his name escapes me right now, has them playing with the type of energy and ferocity I had not seen since the Greg Williams days when he was the defensive coordinator and then the interim coach for the Cleveland Browns.
The run game's important, though. Like you said, stuff with Nick Chubb, the Ravens don't really have a guy like that. Maybe if they go out and get a guy like Jonathan Taylor.
No, and listen, they don't need a guy, right? Because that running attack, because of Lamar, you plug in any running back, they're gonna be next level with it, right? They're gonna get yards.
Absolutely. But Justin's talking some smack in the chat.
Justin's in the chat again. Justin's also saying, also not a fan of JQ at the moment after what he did to me in fantasy. You don't treat friends like that. Well, when I'm not the guy playing against you, but what I will say on JQ's behalf, Justin, is when you in battle and in combat, there are no friends. All is fair in love and war. And you deserve this, Justin. All right, you know that your championship from year 1 was fraudulent. You know you got lucky. I made a mistake.
I got you back though. Year 2, I ended up winning the league.
You won, which was shocking as hell because you were like 8-6 or something.
I started off 0-4 last year in that league. I started off 0-4 last year, and I was in a rough patch. Made some moves, and you and I did a trade. I gave you Joe Mixon and Michael Pittman for Devontae Adams. It was the best trade I think I've almost ever made in fantasy, and it worked out well.
I do remember making that trade, but that's because I needed a running back, and yeah.
So we were just talking about Joe Burrow, kind of the AFC North.
And I see a commenter in there, and I'm going to get to him in a second. He's tweeting about Baker Mayfield. Don't worry, I will get to that.
Is that the next segment? I guess.
No. Because we got to get to this, right?
Okay.
So you're a little bit. Let's finish off the Bengals segment with this.
Yeah.
Which percentage-wise level of concern for the Cincinnati Bengals this year?
I'm saying over 50%. I feel like that's not out of the realm of like crazy talk, right? Yeah. Would you agree with me?
No.
I just think it's because of the calf injury. It's a long season, and I forgot who was the analyst today that talked about it on one of the sports talk shows. Injuries just don't get better throughout the football season.
Shannon Sharp, I'm pretty sure said that.
I think it was Shannon Sharp. Yeah, like injuries.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. It's like one of your players might get hurt, and it's like, oh, they'll rest a few weeks and be all right. But you go back in a few weeks later and you get hit a few times, like you're probably right back to where you are.
Yeah. So one thing we failed to mention is they did lose both their starting safeties due to free agency in the offseason, which is big. Jesse Bates and Von Bell. So that's another cause for concern. They released Lyle Collins. He didn't work out. They're throwing so much money at this offensive line and is yet to work out. And it's just it's gobsmacking, to be honest with you. I would agree with you. Over 50%, probably 60-65% concern for the Cincinnati Bengals. But again, like I said, this season could easily end up being a wash, and it's perfectly fine. I'm not going to slight Joe Burrow or the team for that. They are going to have to start paying up because T. Higgins is most likely going to be a free agent at the end of this year. Next up, though, JQ, I don't know if you're still having nightmares about it. I know yesterday probably helped calm those. But 2 weeks in a row, both New York teams have gotten rockin' socked by them Dallas. How about them Cowboys? You're going to hear me. I told Justin this, JQ. It is going to be a long, long season, because you're going to hear me say that week after week after week. The domination continues. All right, week 1, I stole a line from Michael Irvin. I'm going to say it again. A 40 burger and a big donut for dessert. And then this week, 30-10, absolute domination. Zach Wilson looked like Zach Wilson again, right? Zachary is back to being Zachary. But what I will say this, though, I will give Zach this credit, though. Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett did him no favors. 0. What in God's name would make you think the smart game plan is to have Zach Wilson drop back and throw the ball that many times against that defensive front and that secondary?
It makes no sense.
No sense. The Cowboys have the best defense in the NFL. 49ers are close. Give me the Cowboys for my money, especially because of those 2 cornerbacks that they got. You run the damn ball, man. Breece Hall had 147 yards total last week. He touched the ball 4 times this week. What is that? That cannot happen. That's inexplicable. Nathaniel Hackett and Robert Saleh did not set Zach Wilson up for success. They were going to get beaten anyway. It didn't matter. But you could at least have made it look better and not put the guy in harm's way. They did. Zachary turned back into Zachary. When he breaks out of the pocket, he gets scrambled. He doesn't know really what to do. He panics, and he trusts his arm, like I've said, way too much. He thinks he's Aaron Rodgers. He thinks he's Mahomes. I'm sure he's a good kid, but he's got a lot of cockiness and moxie to him, which is great. But when you're not making the plays, it's not so great. It's bad for the Jets too. Their season's done. I already said that, but the Dallas Cowboys are here to stay. The Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFL. Let me say that one more time, JQ. The Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFL right now. I just want to get your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys over the next 2 weeks, and if you want to mention the New York Jets and what's going on in MetLife.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with the Cowboys themselves. They're like, you gotta tip your cap.
Yeah, give us your perspective. So I'm sure you watched Sunday Night Football last week.
I was there. I have season tickets. Yeah, I was there.
Okay, so give us your perspective of night 1.
Listen, they beat the crap out of the Giants. That's all you could say. It's just like it like you put in the past as a fan because it's like so upsetting in the moment because you're like so excited for the season, especially it being week 1. You're like, oh, like you never expect that. You know what I'm saying? Like you never expect your team to like really get beat up like that.
JQ,
no, listen, they are a very good team, probably arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. But it comes down to what they do in the postseason every year. I know they've had some tough years for years now, like with playoff runs and everything. But at some point, some teams got to get over the hump. And if there's going to be a team to do it, if that defense stays healthy, I mean, they're lethal. I mean, for the Giants' sake, when you play a team like this twice a year for years in the past and years to come, they know what you're good at and they know what you're bad at. And they exposed all the Giants' weaknesses on primetime on Sunday night, which sucks. But yeah, they're a good team and sucks that they're in our division. I like a few players on their team. So it's like,
I hate to bring it up to you, but if you just would have listened to me, I mean, I was predicting it all the way through. The beatdown was coming. The meal was cooked.
So like a beatdown, like I wasn't like you
weren't expecting.
I always have I like optimism going into the game, like new season. I was really hoping as a fan the Giants closed that talent gap with the Cowboys a little bit by adding some of these few pieces, but it's just night and day still that the Giants aren't even anywhere near close to that talent of that team. So like really made like you like know still like hey, like a rebuild of a team doesn't like I know they made the playoffs last year, the Giants, and it's like it was great. They won 9 games, like they made the playoffs. They won a playoff game on the road in the wild card round, but it just goes to show that rebuilds aren't done overnight. Like you can make as many moves as you want, but it's going to take some time. So I mean, they'll get him back at some point, but when you've lost your last 12 or 13 games to one team, it stings.
They haven't beaten the Cowboys since Dak rookie year 2016. Which is a very long time.
You know, you just gotta, as a fan, there's nothing you can really do about it. You just gotta keep chugging, and you know, hopefully your team can win some games, and you know, maybe they get them back once. But it's hard to beat a team like that when they're that good at every single position. It feels like they're good.
Like I said leading up to the season, and you're gonna hear me throughout the entire season. The team was very good last year. They were a top 3 team in the NFC last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That team, just take that team, add a top 5 corner and a future Hall of Famer and a former Defensive Player of the Year in Stephon Gilmore to that defense, add a first-round pick in Mozzie Smith, who's going to shore up that defensive front and help plug up that run defense that was abysmal for them last year, and add Brandon Cooks to that offensive receiving core that now adds that explosive unit. You got to see it's in front of you. The writing's on the wall. Now I understand because Justin's on here and he's not, Cowboys for the Cowboys whatsoever, right? But his only retort, JQ, and this is all everybody's retort is, yeah, but the Cowboys going to Cowboy. And I get that. And I understand it. All right. Cause I'm not blind. I haven't been living under a rock. I've been watching football for over the last 10 years now. I know what the Cowboys are and I know my history of them. They haven't freaking been back to the Super Bowl, I think, since before I was born. But, and I said this too, everybody keeps saying, every year it's, oh, this is our year. This year's different. This year's different. But I said this year is actually different. And then I went through the reasons why. Stephon Gilmore, Mozzie Smith, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup coming off a year removed from an injury. Things are starting to look good now. And you're seeing the fruits of that labor. Now, I will say this. The Cowboys offense needs to look a little better, right? 2 for 6 in the red zone last night or yesterday against the Jets. Can't happen. Got to be better than that, right? But they were playing a great defense. But you got to be better than that. CeeDee Lamb is an absolute stud. I remember the talks a year and a half ago, 2 years, and I was questioning it. Is this guy a true number one? Well, those talks are far and gone. This guy is a legit number one. He's closer to being a top 5 receiver than being outside the top 10. That's all I got to say about CeeDee Lamb. And hopefully Brandon Cooks gets back. But I know that was a tough segment for you, so we're going to move on.
No, it's okay. I just want to – sorry to cut you off. I don't want to say one thing about the Jets, though.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It sucks. It really does suck for them that Aaron Rodgers got hurt. To be honest with you, I think I was more upset seeing Aaron Rodgers get hurt than I was for the Giants losing 40-0 and me being in attendance and sitting there in the pouring rain. Like, I don't say that as a joke. I have a lot of friends who are Jets fans, some family members who are Jets fans. That were looking forward to this year for months, like from the winter. Like once the season ended, they were like, the Jets are gonna make a push for Aaron Rodgers. Like this is like, our shot to be like pretty relevant again, like make a playoff run. It just like sucks the life out of you to see that. The guys on WFAN, the New York Sports Radio, I think BT said it, Brandon Tierney said in the offseason, he goes, if they get Rodgers, what's the plan for a backup if God forbid he gets hurt? It's like, do you just roll with Zach Wilson, see if he's gotten better, you get someone else? To be honest with you, if I was the Jets, I know it's like now you say this kind of type of deal, like should have signed a guy like Jacoby Brissett or just something behind Aaron Rodgers and let Zach sit there as well and just carry 3 quarterbacks the whole year, because if Rodgers went down like he did, now they're stuck with Zach, and I hate to say it, like the year's over. I feel like Zach looked a little bit more comfortable like when he played against the Bills than he did last year, but I mean, when you go up against a Dallas defense like that, like I can't really blame you for like having like a shitty game. Like they're good. Like if your offensive line is not good and you're playing the Cowboys, you're gonna get pummeled, and that's why it sucks. And listen, they're a really good team, Dallas. I hate to say it, of course, because I'm a Giants fan. I'm a diehard. Like obviously, I want to say the Cowboys are gonna Cowboys, but I always I go through every year. I'm like, hey, they're pretty good this year. And then I get like bailed out by them losing in the playoffs. But I don't know, man. The NFC is not as strong as the AFC. We all know that, but it's them, the 49ers and the Eagles, and then the talent gap just drops off a cliff. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, they're a good team, man. Then they gave the Giants the work, unfortunately, and it's part of the game. It sucks, but Like someone yesterday, I was at a bar yesterday, and there's in Hoboken, there's a bunch of Cowboys fans. It was just after the Giants won, and one kid just looks at me and goes 40-0, and I looked at him, I smiled, like I'm not about any of that beef, or like I'm not gonna fight someone over anything. Like I just smiled and I kept walking.
Smile. Kill him with kindness.
Yeah. So like, what am I gonna do? Be like, oh yeah, you really got us. Like, yeah, no, duh, smoked us. So, but yeah, no, listen, man. Overall, they're a really good team.
They're really good. I mean, the thing you brought on the Jets, backup quarterback, they had it. They had him, and they let him go to Miami. His name is Mike White.
They
had him. I mean, you had people freaking wearing Mike effing White shirts last year. You had the guy, and you failed to produce, and now you're stuck with Zach Wilson. And like you said, he did look a little better against the Bills, but again, getting thrown into it, you're playing with house money because you didn't even expect to play probably a snap this entire season. And you're going in there and you're like, I got no pressure on me. I can just go out there and ball. And they just gave the ball to Brees and Dalvin Cook a lot. And then this one, like I said, they set him up for failure. But
I want to say one more thing about, because now you mentioned Brees Hall. You can't have them having 9 carries. I think a lot of teams, they get stuck in this vortex. When they go down like a touchdown or two, they think they have to throw the ball all damn game. Because the first drive, the Giants marched down the field in the Cowboys because they were running the ball a lot. And then, shit happens, block a field goal, return for a touchdown. Oh, gosh, awful. But same thing for the Jets. They go down and then they avoid the run. But that's their best player right there, Brees Hall, besides Garrett Wilson. And you got to take advantage of the run game when you can, because it will set up the pass game. It brings those safeties back in more and those linebackers closer to the line of scrimmage. So that's all I have to say really about that. You got to be able to run the ball to pass the ball, and vice versa.
Yeah. When you don't have a good quarterback, running game is your best friend. Running game is your best friend. Next up, your boys. I'll let you speak on a little bit.
Wow.
This is your segment. Now, if anybody doesn't know, JQ has a podcast talking Big Blue with JQ. The link is you see that right there. Very professional, JQ.
Thank you. My buddy made it.
The link will be in the description down below. If you guys want to go listen, give that a like, give that a rating, give that a listen. Helps our boy JQ out, and he appreciates it. So obviously you had the 40-0 loss week 1. Then you go into week 2. It was in Arizona, or was in
Arizona, yes.
On the road. You're going up against a team that honestly I didn't even think twice. I was like, the Giants are going to win. They got knocked out in week 1. They're coming to get some respect back and put some and being like, nah, you're not disrespecting us like that. We're beating up on a weak ass team in the Arizona Cardinals. That was not the case for the first half. So I'm going to give it off to you, JQ. Tell us your thoughts of the week 2 comeback of the New York Football Giants.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll start off by saying this. This season has been a roller coaster of emotions, and it's week 2. Week 2 is not even over yet. There's a Monday night game that's about to start right now. It's definitely been a lot of ups and downs to start a year, which you obviously, a lot of Giants fans, I will say this real quick, had a high expectations, not just like being like one of the best teams in the NFC, but just gradually getting better year by year. And listen, when you get smacked on your face week 1, it carried over into week 2. And you saw that in the first half, Brandon. When they go down 20-0, I'm sitting there and I go, what happened to this team? I go, did they get worse, or is something wrong? Like with the coaching, so many different scenarios are going through my head to thinking like what is wrong with this team? And then, and they come out in the second half, ended up being down 21 at one point, and end up coming back and winning the game. It shows how gritty they've always been since last year. They had a lot of fourth quarter comebacks and 1-score games. It just shows how resilient they are as a group. But obviously, you don't want to be in this situation, especially against a team like Arizona. I really wanted them to go in there and win. I wanted a game like how the Giants played the Colts last year when they clinched a playoff spot. They went in there at home. They were up 3 scores at halftime and then just continued to roll the rest of the game. Brandon, Giants fans, you really never get those easy games. My heart's always racing from snap to snap. But no, listen, I'll say this, I don't really, I can be a little biased about it. I don't really care who you're playing, but if you're able to come back from a 21-point deficit in the second half, it just shows that the confidence is finally there, and that it shows that, this team can play, this team can ball. I have a ton of respect for the guys on the team as a fan, and I trust them. I trust Brian Dable. I trust the GM Joe Shane. Like, I trust Daniel Jones. Like, I do trust his offensive line to pick it up here and there, even though they've gotten torched the past 2 weeks. But you just got to trust the guys, and as a fan, that's all you really can do. But to see them come back from 21-point deficit was really special. Also, another roller coaster at the end of the game, which sucks, is that Saquon gets hurt with a minute left, and now he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. So it's like you win the game. It's a small victory, but then it's like your favorite player who you get to watch gets hurt. But no, I thought the team I saw in the second half was the team I saw at the end of last year, with the play calling, with the designs, the play action, just how Daniel Jones facilitated the offense. Like he balled out in the second half, and I'm really happy for him though. A win is a win at the end of the day, and I hope this just gives them some confidence because they have a lot of tough games coming up.
Yeah. I will say this, right? It sucks for Saquon Barkley, and it just sucks for the Giants. I tweeted this, they draft 2 players that are supposed to be generational talents in OBJ and Saquon Barkley, and both of them end up being injury prone and still are injury prone to this day. It's very disappointing for the Giants and their fans. But to talk about what happened yesterday against the Cardinals, 21-point deficit, come back in the second half. I've seen the stats. Daniel Jones went off in the second half, right? But I'm going to say this again. They beat a team that, let's all be honest, they should have beaten. They beat a team that, let's all be honest, they should have beaten handedly. Okay?
100%.
It took everything for them just to squeeze out a win against a team led by Joshua Dobbs. Kyler Murray's not out there. DeAndre Hopkins is no longer an Arizona Cardinal. I'm disappointed. That for me, not so impressed. Impressed of the actual feat of the comeback, but when you actually look at the context of the whole thing, that's not a good sign, man. Obviously, the resiliency is great, right? Coming back from that, but it's just not a good sign that you go down 21-0. You let the Cardinals score 28 points on you. That's a no-no, man. That's a big no-no for me. I don't know. For me, this is what I thought, JQ, about the Giants coming into the season. I believe they're going to regress. I believe that we've kind of seen that a little bit. I don't believe they got better in the offseason. Their biggest addition was Darren Waller. Darren Waller at his best, when he is healthy, is, to me, the 3rd best tight end in the league. He's usually not at his healthiest. He hasn't been for about 2 seasons now, 2.5 seasons, if you want to say. Your best player on the team, Saquon Barkley, has just gone down for 2 to 3 weeks. The offensive line still has problems. The receiving core is still mid at best. And let me sprinkle a positive on this before I cap it off with the biggest negative, right? That people want to look at as a negative, but I don't mean it as a negative, and I'll explain why. Sprinkle the positive. Brian Daboll is a very good coach. Possibly could be great one day. I respect him. People revere him. He has shown that he can make a team and make it better and elevate the talent around him. And that's all you can ask for from a coach, especially a head coach, is elevate the talent, right? Get the best out of your players. But now here's the big negative. The New York Giants are just like the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to say it again. They got a head coach that everybody respects and a lot of people love. They got a phenomenal running back. But they will only go as far as their quarterback. And Daniel Jones is not the guy. I'm sure he is a great person. I am not attacking his character. I'm never attacking a player's character unless I'm explicitly saying I'm attacking this player's character. I'm talking strictly about his football play. On the field, in between those 4 lines. Daniel Jones is not the guy. He's not a franchise quarterback. Daniel Jones is this. Daniel Jones is a very good backup quarterback. And when I say that, I do not mean that disrespectfully. I mean that in all honesty. It's not his fault that he was drafted in a place he should have never been drafted. If he was taken in the 3rd or 4th round, nobody would be speaking like I would not be speaking like this. He was taken, I believe, top 10. That's not where he belongs. That's not where he belonged then, now, and forever. Okay? So that's where I'm at with the New York Giants. I think they're going to realize that. And I know you said you trust Daniel Jones. I don't think you actually believe that, JQ. I'm sorry. You don't. You don't believe that. You know, and you're going to and I think you've known all along. Brian Daboll knows. I'm sure Brian Daboll got in the room with Daniel Jones and was like, man, I really like this kid. I'm going to give him a shot. I'm going to give him a real shot. And I think the playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings fooled a lot of people. I do, because he played He played the best game of his entire career, did he not?
No, he did. Yeah.
He did. But it fooled you. He only threw 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last year. That's not knock your socks off numbers. I think you guys are going to be in looking for a quarterback this offseason. You shouldn't have paid Daniel Jones. The money you paid Daniel Jones should have went to Saquon. And that's all it is. The New York Giants are a team that is going to compete. They'll steal some games, but they're only going to go as far as their quarterback. And sadly, Daniel Jones is not that guy.
And listen, everything you said, it wasn't like unrealistic. Like, I've heard people say this all the time about him, the team, regressing possibly, having a harder schedule. My thing is, it's like, if they liked him that much to give him a contract, they must see something, right? And when you just watch from the outside, when he plays like that in the second half, it's like, this is the guy I wish would be like, I wish he would play like this every game. Granted, not every quarterback's going to have a great game, but when you see that player, that's what makes me have hope. When it's like, this guy is able to go down the field 4 drives in a row and score 4 touchdowns, like stuff like that. But then, when it comes to play some of these bigger teams and better teams, I don't know. It's not like the spotlight gets to him, but it's like the team's just not like ready for like some of these like competitions. You saw against Dallas, like he looked like how he played against Dallas is how he looked against how he did like early in the Brian Daboll era, where he was like still trying to figure out Daboll's whole playbook, this and that, build the confidence. Yeah. So it's like you want to see more of this Daniel Jones, but then there's still the other side Daniel Jones that I see where it's like, it's tough. It's like we can't like have this, or like we're not going to win games. Like this team won't win games if our quarterback plays like this. And I'm tired of making excuses about like the offensive line, like guys being hurt or guys just getting blown past, because it's true though. Like like Daniel Jones was pressured 67% of his dropbacks week 1. Like that's unheard of numbers. Like he was running for his life like every snap, which sucks though. But when you play a good team, it's a part of the game. You just got to figure out coaching wise how to do it. So the team in general though, as a fan, I hope they don't regress. I mean, the first 2 games like I've said, have been a roller coaster, but they always keep it interesting and fun.
Like I said, they're going to compete. They're going to compete. They're going to steal some games from people. I have them. I think it was 6-11. And again, that is basically where I have. That's a solid to okay team that could easily take steps forward if they have a quarterback to elevate that talent. And I don't think Daniel Jones is not the guy that's going to elevate the talent. And the real question you've got to ask yourself is, are we closer to the Lombardi, or are we closer to Caleb Williams or Shedeur Sanders? And I think once you come to a realization, an epiphany, you might say, you'll realize if we have Caleb Williams or Shedeur Sanders, I mean, something's cooking in New York. How we doing, right? But that's all I'm saying. That's for a different discussion for another day. But you'll come to the realization, JQ. We'll talk about it.
No, but I mean, I'm not like, like I have my bias takes, of course, but like, I'm not like, I understand like where they are, like as a team.
Yeah. Really. So straight out, do you believe Daniel Jones is the guy?
I mean, they paid him like he was like,
I'm asking you.
I do. I personally do, because I like a quarterback who's mobile and can make plays with his legs along with his arm too. I think he throws a great ball. Like he might not be like your Josh Allen or Justin Herbert or guys like that, but those guys aren't made everywhere. And I know you guys got like guys like Caleb Williams coming out this year. Is Deion's son coming out this year or no?
He might, but he
Or
might come out the year
yeah,
after.
so it's like you maybe get like a Caleb Williams, but it's like I mean, people on Twitter, it's funny. Like the Giants were down 20-0 yesterday, and they're like, Caleb Williams, you are a New York Giant, which is like, it's like cool though, because like it would be cool to have a guy like that, of course, like a guy of like that upper tier. But it's like if they trust him and they think he's the guy, then as a fan, like it's I feel the same way too, and I just hope he keeps improving. That's it, and that's all you can hope for because they're locked in for the next 2 years at least out of the 4, and
Yeah.
if they can't make something happen, like it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck to watch, and I don't want that. So that's why I'm rooting for them. So
yeah,
it better effing work.
It's not gonna work, Jake. Here, the rude awakening is gonna come. Nightmare on Elm Street is coming for you. But we got to get into this. Some other mishaps are going on in the NFL. I didn't expect this, to be honest with you. The Denver Broncos. Their first 2 games were at home in Mile High. They are 0-2 to the Las Vegas Raiders and the Washington Commanders. And the margin of victory on both those games was 1 point and 2 points. I'm just going to flat out say it. I think Sean Payton made a mistake. I think he made a critical error not coming back, but becoming the Denver Broncos head coach. I will say this. I did see the stat and I did hear the stat that the offense is not the problem for this team. They are actually let me get this correctly.
But I thought they were supposed to be a good defensive team all these years. Like I thought they had these guys.
That's what I'm going to get to, right? So you would think that the offense would be the problem. It's not. They have the most points per possession in the entire NFL, the Denver Broncos. They lead the NFL in most points per possession. That defense is doing them. That defense was supposed to be top 10, top 7. And they got the Washington Commanders looking like the Washington Commanders of what, the 80s? I don't know what's going on in Denver. If you look at the stats, it's the defense. Something's going on. It's not what it was last year with Vic Fangio. But I honestly think that I just think Sean Payton made a mistake. I think Sean Payton should have waited in the booth until the perfect job opened up, or just basically knocked on Jerry Jones' door, or I don't know his name, the Los Angeles Chargers owner, and basically said, do either of you guys want my services, and are you willing to give up a first-round pick for it? Because I think both those teams would very much welcome Sean Payton. I think Dallas Cowboys were linked to him, and Jerry didn't want to give him a first-round pick, but that's neither here nor there. Sean Payton made a mistake, in my opinion, going to the Denver Broncos. It's not worked. 0-2 in Mile High to start off the season when they are not supposed to lose in Mile High. And they're losing to the Washington Commanders and the Raiders.
It's not good, Brendan. I'll say that because as a team, you always want to protect home field. You want a home field advantage. You want to win those games. Like this is a Broncos fan base that has a good crowd. They're not like a team that look at, like, I guess the LA Rams, since now they're in LA, they don't have such a big fan base. So when all of San Francisco fans were there were so many people. But no, it's not a good look. And like you said, I always thought Sean Payton was going to end up in LA with the Chargers. I thought, like with Brandon Staley, I thought he made some horrific mistakes as a head coach. I don't know how he still has a job, but listen, if they like him that much, so be it. They're 0-2 on the year, and they're just going to keep losing. So you can't have a guy like Justin Herbert and continue to lose.
Not only Justin Herbert, but that talent on that Chargers team. That Chargers team is stacked with elite talent all the way around, from the offense to the defense. And I think Sean Payton would have been a perfect welcome in LA, but they decided to stick. That was more the Chargers deciding to stick with Brandon Staley, which again was a stupid decision because I believe they're going to fire him at the end of this season if the last 2 games are anything to things to come for the Chargers, Brandon Staley is going to lose his job at the end of the season. And then what does that mean? Does that mean Kellen Moore is going to be promoted? I don't know if Kellen Moore is ready for a big head coaching job. This Broncos, I can't explain it. If you, like I said, for this Denver Broncos team, it's hard to explain what's going on. If you look at the stats say the offense isn't the problem. They have the highest points per possession in the entire NFL. It would obviously the stats are screaming the defense is the problem and what's going on, right? You're giving up 35 points to Sam Howell. You're losing at home to the Las Vegas Raiders, which was an abysmal team last year, and they're an abysmal team. They should be an abysmal team this year again. They look great in the first half. And then in the second half, they just completely fall apart. What's that about? I want to know what that's about. Damn, this defense looks like they needed Rex Ryan. And he was, in contending, a candidate for that spot. He didn't come out, and now they're stuck with Vance Joseph. And I don't know. Vance Joseph, I believe. And I don't know what Sean Payton's going to do because this is so bad for Sean Payton and Russell. I kind of feel bad.
Are you a believer, Brandon, of everyone's at fault, like for like a loss or like during the season? So, like the player could make a bad play, like drop a pass, something like that. But, when you're winning in the first half and you lose in the second half, could come down to coaching, could come down to some decisions you make. I think everyone's to blame here. I mean, I know it's only week 2, but you don't want to start a season 0-2, both at home. Because now they're going to Miami. I'm just going to say that's a loss, unless Russ cooks, which he could.
Yeah, but their defense is giving and look at that offense.
They're going to get torched by Tyreek Hill probably next week. Then they play the Bears. You'll probably get your first one. Then they play the Jets. Probably could win 2 right there, be 2-3, heading into Kansas City, then Green Bay, then the Chiefs again. I don't think they're winning any of those games. I don't think they're winning Chiefs, Packers, then Chiefs again, or Bills, or Vikings. You know what? This is a tough schedule. This goes. Hang on, I'm sorry. This goes for the deep. Broncos. It goes Dolphins, Bears, Jets, because Bears, whatever. Jets go defense. Chiefs, Packers, Chiefs, Bills, Vikings, Browns. Like sheesh, it's not an easy stretch. So
listen. You're reading it out, and I had high hopes for the Broncos coming in. I had him tied for first in the AFC West. I believed in the Russell Wilson revamp. I believed in Sean Payton coming in and changing the culture. Somebody's got to answer me. Denver Broncos fans, please come to me. Answer me. What the fuck is going on?
I know, really. So, but listen, that's a team that's got to figure it out before it gets ugly, and before it gets ugly real quick.
And it's if what's happened is a sign to come. It's going to get worse before it even gets a little bit better.
I mean, I'll personally say I don't think the Commanders look bad at all this year. I mean, they're 2-0, rightfully so. They've played some gritty, tough wins. But also for the Broncos, it's like you're paying Russell Wilson, I think, almost like $49 million a year. Let's get going. So
yeah. And I will say they've had a lot of some string of bad lucks. Jerry Jeudy was on the field, but he keeps getting injured. Yep. Tim Patrick, feel bad for him. He can't even get on the damn field. Denzel Mims, right? Denzel Mims?
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. Junior, big play down the field. I think it was 68-yard touchdown. They need something. They need something. Next up, you mentioned him earlier. I hinted at him a little bit. Brandon Staley of the Los Angeles Chargers are now 0-2. And I believe he had like the post game press conferences, and I'm pretty sure he got a little spicy towards the reporter because the reporter I'm not sure about the question, but I think he asked him basically about is there still a hangover from last season's 27-0 comeback loss, and he said, "Listen, I'm paraphrasing. That can be your guys' narrative. That can be your guys' talking point, but that's not what this team is about. These players are fighters. These players fight hard and they're gritty, and that's not what we're about, and we're excited to show you." Well, if you're excited, well, what the fuck? I'm waiting here. I'm not holding my damn breath because you're 0-2 now. Last season, I was so high on them. I'm pretty sure I had him in the AFC Championship game. I might have had him in the Super Bowl as well because of the additions that team made. They added a Khalil Mack and a J.C. Jackson to that defense. I was like, holy shit, this defense is going to be insane. The offense is already high caliber as hell. Brandon Staley, you just got to not mess it up. And Brandon Staley has done nothing but mess it up. Brandon Staley was a defensive coordinator. That is why he was brought in to not why, but he was hired on his merits as a defensive coordinator for the Rams. That's why he was brought in for the Chargers job. He was the 16th. His defense was ranked 16th in the NFL when he was on the Rams and when he got hired for the Chargers. You've seen last year 27-0. You've seen throughout the entirety of last season and now for the first 2 weeks, that defense is fraudulent as you know what. All right. You might have J.C. Jackson. You might have Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. But goddamn it, none of those names mean nothing because for some reason that defense can't get it together. When you got those names, those 4 guys, game changers. Those are what those guys are. And your defense is nowhere to be found. I don't know. I can't explain it. You were hired to help shore up that defense because they said, we got Justin Herbert. We got an offense that we're happy with. Now help us with that defense, Brandon Staley, and you've done nothing but. I hate calling for people's jobs, but he deserved to lose his job after that playoff game against the Jaguars, 27-0. And he's going to be on his way to losing his job this season. And I think the Chargers have just delayed the inevitable, in my opinion. Now, what do they do at the end of the season? Because Sean Payton's not available anymore. All right. Do they promote Kellen Moore? Like I said a little bit earlier, I don't think Kellen Moore's ready for a head coaching job. And if they bring in a new guy, is the new guy going to want Kellen Moore? And now you're messing with Justin Herbert's chemistry. It messes everything up. You're putting too much into the soup, too much, and it needs to stop. There's one guy out there that I've named that should come back to the NFL, and he was supposed to come back last season, I believe last season, but he didn't come back. That's Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh will be perfect for the Los Angeles Chargers, but again, does it muddy the waters for them? I don't know. JQ, what do you think about this Los Angeles Chargers? I think you already kind of hinted at it before that you believe Brandon Staley should probably not be the coach for that team anymore.
Yeah, so like you were saying, what I saw last year, I mean, they were up 27-0, right? And then lost that playoff game to the Jags. I think that's just like a sign right there. It's like, okay, like something we got to figure out. We didn't run the ball the entire second half and we lost. I wonder why. Makes sense. You got to kill the clock. I think like the Bengals, I think like other teams who are struggling that are 0-2, like the Broncos as well, this is a team that's in trouble. Because you know why? Because you don't want to ever like have to fire mid-season and try to do this and that to fix everything. Because like you said, the chemistry is important. But when you drop a game to the Dolphins, that was a shootout. That could have went either way. Tua just got the last laugh. He basically got the ball last. Titans, I mean, it's a team you got to beat. But like for them, now their next game is against the Vikings. Geez, one of those teams is going to be 0-3 after this. Wow, that is crazy. Vikings, Raiders, Cowboys, Chiefs. Got to find a win somewhere in there, which they definitely will. But 2 division games in the next 4 games, those are big games for them, Brandon. And like you said, this is a very talented team. There has to be something wrong interior-wise with this team, coaching staff, the organization, or something for them. Because like you said about them being in the AFC Championship game, I wouldn't like nod my head and be like, no, that's like impossible. Like, no, like they're that good on both sides of the ball that they should be one of those teams. Like I wish the Giants were that good on both sides of the ball, Like, I don't know what they'll do for a head coach, but he's either got to figure it out, Stanley, or they're going to have to do something next offseason. You're going to have to ride out this season and figure it out. But listen, no win in the NFL is ever easy. So if you're expecting them to just be like, oh, yeah, Minnesota's 0-2 also, oh, we could take them. Huh? They're in Minnesota, so we'll see what they do.
Yeah, exactly. And they're off. And right now it's a pick 'em. It's even, according to Vegas. And listen, if we know anything about these two teams, high-powered offenses, both defenses are fraudulent. I forgot to mention they have Asante Samuel Jr. too, who's a knock off the old block. He's got great hands and can get his hands on the ball and a really good playmaker. It just makes no sense to me why this defense is not better. And the only thing I can point to is Brandon freaking Staley, because you were a defensive coordinator. You were brought in to help shore up that defense, and you have all these stars on the defensive side of the football. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James. And You've done nothing with it. Done nothing. That wraps up the goddamn Chargers talk.
Yeah, it's a quick one because they're in trouble, dude. Like
they're bad. This is the one where I'm like, with the Bengals, I said, listen, they could have a down season. I'm not too worried about it. No, that's because they've done something. They've been to the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship game. Chargers haven't done shit. You lost a 27-0 lead. You've done nothing.
Could you imagine if your team
needs to be pushed?
Could you imagine? Sorry to cut you off. Could you imagine if your team ever did that? Like was up 27-0 in a playoff game and lost, or just any game in general and lost?
No, I can't imagine.
I don't know. I will myself to watch every week because I've had all Giants fans have had a lot of tough seasons, and it's like I watch every play. If because I always make sure I'm available for games. Of course, I watch every play, every snap. I see everything. Win or loss, they can get blown out. Like I don't care. Like I didn't want to leave Sunday Night Football in the third quarter, but like it was 36 or 33-0. Like I took my dad too. I was like, Dad, we should get out of here because like this sucks.
Yeah.
I never want to leave a game, but yeah, with a team like the Chargers, like you were saying, for them to have a lot of these older veteran guys too, this veteran talent on this team, got to figure it out. That's all I have to say. Yeah. But it's a weird NFL season so far. I didn't expect a couple of these teams to be 0-2. I'll say that.
And a team that a lot of people didn't expect to be 2-0. Great transition, but this guy did right here. Is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by one Baker Mayfield. My boy Baker. Throw a couple stats out to you. Baker Mayfield is the first Buccaneers quarterback to start 2-0 with no interceptions since Sean King in 2000. All right. Baker Mayfield on third downs this season, people. This season, 20 of 23, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 0 sacks, and a 132.1 passer rating. I'm going to steal a line from Mr. Geno Smith of last year. They wrote me off. I ain't right back. Everybody counted Baker out. So much negativity towards my guy Baker. Oh, this guy is a cancer to the locker room. Oh, I don't like his attitude. Oh, he's Johnny Manziel, just the second version of him. Oh, he was the problem in Cleveland. Oh, yeah, we got to get rid of him. Oh, look at him in Carolina. All these things. He's a bust. He's this, he's that. And what has Baker Mayfield done? I won't go over the history of Baker Mayfield because we don't have that much time. But in the Buccaneers uniform, he's done what he's needed to do. 2-0, all right? Beat Chicago. And then I'm actually blanking on who they just who they
Vikings.
Beat. The Vikings, yes. Apologies. They go to Minnesota. They beat the Minnesota Vikings, a tough home place to play, and beat the Minnesota Vikings, a team that was 13-4 last year. They beat that team. Then home opener taking on Chicago. They beat Chicago. And Baker Mayfield was freaking slanging it against the Chicago Bears, slanging it all around. I told y'all he's back. The comeback story is going to be one for the ages. People need to start recognizing that Baker Mayfield is. I did a video, JQ, and I'm pretty sure you saw it. And a lot of people have. Close to 100,000 people actually have seen it. How many quarterbacks would you take Baker Mayfield over? I did that video before the season started, and I got a lot of backlash about that video. A lot of shit was thrown at me. A lot of people still talking to this day, commenting on this video. Appreciate the interaction, but a lot of people said some stuff. I don't hear a lot of peeping going on now. Because Baker's 2-0. He's right and back. And all I got to say is get your weight up, boy.
I'll say this. I mean, I feel like the Bucs got the version of Baker Mayfield that the Browns had. And of course, like why the Browns drafted him first overall. Like, honestly, personally, I thought the stint he had with the Rams, I thought he was going to stay for another year. I thought like maybe they were uncertain of Matthew Stafford's career and his future moving forward. So I said, hey, Baker there, like, I don't see it being bad. I think Carolina was a complete dumpster fire. The end to his tenure in Cleveland was a dumpster fire because of, Kevin Stefanski and everything that went down there. But no, it's been my goal this year. I usually do this every year, though. I don't know. I've said this twice, right? I don't know really why I say it's a goal, but I just go on like YouTube. I go on NFL's channel and I rewatch. I watch every game recap. So I watched all of week 1 last week, and my buddy JT's a huge Baker fan. I thought he looked really good, and even though I'm someone who doesn't like him, I honestly don't even know why. I just hate him. But no, I thought he looked really good. And then I'm going to go watch, of course, at some point. I'm going to get through all the games. I watched like 2 games last night before I passed out. But no, I'm going to watch the rest before, and then, 2 games I'll watch tonight before the end of, or before Thursday Night Football. I try to watch all the game recaps before the next week, Thursday Night Football. But no, I mean, you got to be happy. You never like want to root for a player's downfall. You can still hate him, but it's like, if he's playing well and, Tampa's a good spot I feel like Tampa was a good spot for him. And I mean, look at him now, 2-0. I personally thought they were going to lose to the Vikings because I thought, Kirk Cousins kind of 1 p.m. like, Kirk had that dog in him.
I'm pretty sure I'm the only guy who picked him in our pick 'em.
Yeah. So, I thought so just because, road game, first game, new team kind of type of deal. But no, I mean, he's been showing out. He's been impressive. I mean, 26 for 34, 317 passing yards and the TDs. It's a good stat line, man. And, I'm sure he made some real big, nice throws in there. And I'm gonna watch it tonight probably at some point after the game.
I don't know. Did you see the highlight throw where he was like kind of like
the sidearm one? I did see that one.
Yeah,
I saw that, but that was it. So, but no, yeah. After the games tonight, before I go to bed, I'll probably watch like 2 or 3 more recaps and then watch a few tomorrow and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen. I mean, the real reason probably I never really liked him. I was telling you before the pod is that he did that thing against Kansas or whatever it was when he was like showboating or whatever. And for some reason, I was just like, I don't like this guy.
Which one was that? Was that the one where he stamped the thing in there?
No, that was against. That was when he grabbed his package and
against Kansas.
Yeah, against Kansas.
See, that's the shit that I fell in love with Baker for.
I know, and a lot of people did. I was opposite.
Love a little moxie from my quarterback, dude.
As you can tell, we like
Eli Manning.
I know. That's why I like Daniel Jones. I like a guy who just comes in, puts his head down, works. I like how Daniel's showing a lot more emotion this year and he gets fired up. But it's like, I just like it because I always feel like comfortable that he's never going to get in trouble with the media and he's going to stay out of trouble. Like Baker's. I'm not saying Baker's a troublemaker.
No, the Baker's got a personality. He'll fire back.
And it's just like something. It's like that cocky side. Like, he's not the only quarterback or player I don't like, but it's just like for some reason I'm like,
all right. You're gonna learn to love him. You're gonna learn to love him because
I'm trying to. But when I have people rubbing in my face how good he is, it's hard to enjoy it. Not you.
Okay, but I'm just saying. You know how many years that Baker people have had to deal with the fact that people are saying Baker's done and Baker's done. He's gonna be a bust. Listen, Baker's here to stay, and Baker's going to be around for a long.
I think after this, he signed a 1-year deal. I'm sure
this was a prove it. This was a prove it year.
Listen, their division is pretty weak. I think they could beat out the Saints. I still don't see the Saints as a very good team. I know they got Derek Carr and everything.
Yeah, Dennis Allen. I don't believe in Dennis Allen.
No, I think the Bucs are a more well-rounded team. Yeah. But it's just you got to take it week by week. I kind of want to look real quick before we wrap up at. Like they play the Eagles this week, then the Saints and the Lions. Those are 3 tough games.
And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that thing too is like it would be cool to see how they do.
They play the Eagles on Monday Night Football, so next week at this time they will be playing the Eagles in Tampa Bay. I'm excited for that because the Eagles have not looked super impressive to me.
There's 2. Sorry to cut you off. There's another 2 Monday night games next week also.
Yeah, and then that's it. There's nothing after that.
Did they do 2 last year like that? Also 2 weeks or just 1 week like this?
I think it was just 1, but they could have done 2. They could have done 2.
Okay, all right.
Honestly, they throw like a second game in there that's like not really. They don't need to be watched. But one thing I wanted to get your thoughts on. Are you a college football guy?
Not really. I will say because it's like. I love watching the NFL, and it's like I might be busy on Saturdays.
I'm not a college football guy,
but it's also like I do end up watching a lot towards the end because my team usually has a high draft pick, and I have to know who they're going to take in a top 10 pick situation.
Have you been keeping up at all with Colorado?
I watched the whole game the other night. I was just about to get to that. I watched the whole
You
game.
watched it.
Sanders
Stayed up that late,
dude. Yeah, I said that me and my buddy JT were watching Sanders throw some ball. Man, he's got some
I fell
arm.
asleep when it was 28-20, and I was like, I can't stop already, because it was like 1:00 in the morning, if I'm not mistaken.
Finished at like 2:30, dude.
Yeah, and I already watched the
Eastern
UFC
time.
Yeah, I already watched the UFC event. I was like, dude, I am done.
Yeah.
I'm done. And then I woke up and I'm like, wait, they fucking came back and won?
Yep. So, but yeah, no, I get into it here and there. Like, I like, of course, like the top draft picks that are going to be next year, like Marvin Harris Jr. and like Caleb Williams.
He's gonna
Drake May.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a top 5 pick as a wide receiver.
Yeah,
he's going to be a top 5 pick.
I don't know if the Giants end up having a top 5 pick somehow, and which I always hope not, because
Call Eli back.
Yeah, listen. We'll figure it out. Maybe a couple more linemen, but no, listen, I mean, whatever happens. It's a long season, and I just want to say I'm very excited for just football in general. Like, of course I'm like a huge Giants fan, but I love watching every team too, to see
football,
how everyone's doing. Football. I'm a football guy. That's it. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for having me on, dude. This is fun.
No problem. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up Colorado just to be like, listen, they're doing some special things.
They're good, dude. They're good
very dirty hit by that one kid. I don't even know his name. I don't even really care for his name. The jackass that did take out Travis Hunter. But Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes got their win at the end of the day. Respect to Colorado State for putting up that great a fight, because a lot of people thought they were going to get blown out by 80. I'm not. That's not hyperbole. People actually thought that.
Yeah, that's crazy that they were going to win too. They were winning with like a minute left.
Yeah, it's insane. But that wraps it all up. Saints and Panthers are tied 3-3 at the end of the first quarter.
That's going to be such a boring game. I might not even watch it.
Well, the good game's coming on in T-minus less than 30 minutes. We're going to have Browns Steelers 8:15 on ABC for the first time in 17 years. Football is going to be on ABC, people. Wake up. Where are you? But thanks, everybody, for tuning in and watching along with us. Please, if you stayed till the end and you like this, please give us a like, a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Share the content with your friends and family and on social media. Interact with us. Comment along with us. Tell us what you feel about the topics we discussed today. Tell us about the topics we didn't get to today of the week 2, of your reactions of week 2. Go listen to JQ's podcast, Talking Big Blue with JQ. The link is in the description. Go follow him on Twitter. The link is in the description. Follow me on Twitter. The link is in the description. I sound so redundant saying that. JQ, it was great to have you back on today.
It's good to see you as always. It's great to see you. The banter is great. Everything is good. At least we can agree on some things now more than in the past. So, but yeah, it's always good to see you, dude.
It's going to be great. And I'm trying to set up also, hopefully, maybe in the next coming weeks or months, a watch party with some people. You, Justin, we'll all get on. We'll watch a football game together, live one, Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night, doesn't matter. Just about getting the schedules right together and whatnot. But thank you all for watching and tuning in to episode 127. I have been Brandon Capozziello. That was my boy JQ. And as Justin always says, stay classy. Late as gay as.